really, these are questions that not only are often asked, but they're genuinely good questions. And so we're going to start off first and foremost with how do you use the Bodolab products for results? Do you even leave the products on? And this is actually stemming off of a question from Cynthia Ramirez. And she said, if the hair conditioner is only to be used from mid to ends, how would a male with short hair use it? And so two kind of questions within this first question, but to use the Bodolab products for results. Now, if you'll remember, in Korea, there is testing to show that it reduces hair loss. In the US and in Canada, we cannot use those claims because they're strictly regulated by Health Canada and by the FDA. But we can say that they maintain healthy hair density. So if you're using the Bodolab products to maintain hair density or to maintain the appearance of it, you'll want to be using them daily. That's what they were tested on, was consistent application once a day. Now, in terms of the individual products themselves, the shampoo just needs to be worked into a rich lather. So roughly 30 seconds to a minute, just really massaging your scalp is all you ultimately need for that product, and you can rinse it off. Now, for the water treatment, and also to answer Cynthia's question, you absolutely can and should apply it to the scalp. Now, with the appreciation of its maintenance of hair density, adding that deserty cola and the nettle extract and the camellia oil in the water treatment will again just refortify the performance of the products and the products as a system. Now, when I mentioned the water treatment when we discussed Bodolab, which I believe was in week 5, I mentioned that I personally put it at the mid of my hair to the ends. That's because I'm not personally looking for density maintenance, and I personally appreciate conditioners in this area of my hair. That is just personal preference, but absolutely you can apply it to your scalp, and it's also essential that you do leave this on for a little bit longer. You can massage it in again, just so it starts really creaming up, roughly a minute to 2 minutes, or you can leave it on even a little bit longer as a sort of hair treatment or a hair mask, and that's mainly for the ends. So if you're wanting to really have that conditioning experience, you can leave it upwards of 3 or 4 minutes just on the ends of the hair. I always like to tie my hair back and go about the rest of my shower and then rinse it off. So realistically, if you're wanting to see results for the specific performance of the Bodolab products, it's going to be daily use and specifically application on the scalp, as of course your hair grows out from your scalp. But if you're looking just for beautifying or for general maintenance of your hair, you can apply it mid to ends in terms of the water treatment, and you can keep it on for a minute upwards to 4 minutes. So that's that question. All right, so the next question is another one I get quite a lot. What does FDA approval mean and what products need it? And so specifically, we and CS as well often get requests for certificates of administration or the Health Canada certificates. So just note that any country our products are sold in, they are registered. Specifically, Health Canada, you must register your products. And of course, for the FDA or for the US, there's a newer system that I'll get into that requires you register your products. While the FDA does regulate cosmetics, it does not necessarily administer approvals for cosmetics to go to the market. The FDA regulates the cosmetics via 2 main laws, but now 3 laws. And so we'll go over that third one. But the 2 initial laws were the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act and the Fair Packaging and Labeling Act. These acts together prohibit the marketing or misbranding of falsely labeled cosmetics, but manufacturers and brand marketers, not the FDA, have the ultimate responsibility of ensuring the safety of their own products. And so that was the name of the game for many years. But recently in, I believe, 2023, and it came finally to fruition in 2024, was the MOCRA Act. So MOCRA is the Modernization of Cosmetics Regulations Act. This MOCRA Act brought in a little bit more hands-on access for the FDA. It also established a portal through which now all retailers must register their products in this portal. This portal is not consumer facing. It's still, between the brands and the FDA, but each product must be submitted with the safety testing it passed. And then for any ingredient updates it has to go through the portal again. So please know that all the RIMAN products are registered in the MOCRA portal. They've all been reported with their safety data. And anytime there's any update, we once again will go through that portal to make sure they are current. The same goes for Health Canada. You must register your products with Health Canada, and we have done so. The only ones that either are still in registration or perhaps in align with the regulations in Canada yet are going to be in the import cart, as you know. So the one unique instance of this is, of course, OTC products. And so OTC is going to be things like your dandruff shampoo or your sunscreen. So sunscreens are unique because they must contain monographed filters to be considered and marketed as a sunscreen. And because, of course, we chose monographed filters, you can see specifically our aqua protection sunscreen as listed on the FDA portal. So there's a specific thing. You actually just go to Daily Med and you type in a specific code and it pulls up our sunscreen. So that's one you can actually see. But just know in the background, all the products are registered via the MOCRA portal to the FDA and to Health Canada. And as we continue to expand and as we continue to incorporate more regulatory bodies and opinions into our formulary, because right now, of course, it's ASEAN, Korea, the FDA, Health Canada, now it's going to be Mexico, Malaysia, the Philippines. We always are looking towards those regulatory bodies to make sure these products will be of no issue to sell in those countries. So if you want to know the code or if you want to know the link to see the aqua protection sunscreen, feel free to email ritual@riman.com and I will give you all that info so you can view the listing. All right. Question 3 is, can you use the Viatin oil mist and the calming balance gel with the advanced RIMAN ritual? I love this question because it's thinking outside of the specific pre-curated rituals that we have put forth for y'all. And this comes from Nancy Profka. I'm so sorry if I said that incorrectly, but Nancy, this is a great question. And I'm glad you're looking to use other products in your routine because yes, absolutely. If you're using the entire Expert RIMAN ritual, but you want just one Radiant product, you can totally do that and vice versa. So in this specific instance, you can use the Calming Balance Gel and the Viatin Oil Mist after you've cleansed and before the Radiant 100 toner. Or you could always do the Calming Balance Gel, then the 3 Radiant products, and then finish off with the Viatin Oil Mist just for the additional layer of moisturization. But again, that's entirely up to you in your design of your own RIMAN ritual, but absolutely you may use those products within the advanced RIMAN ritual as well. All right. And then next we have, how do you apply the Collagen 100 melting sheet without the Viatin oil mist or the booster? So this is another question I get a lot. We got this question a lot after our last RIMAN days when we had mentioned the Collagen 100 melting mask as a specialized form of treatment because we were talking about romanticizing your self-care. But you can use the Collagen 100 melting sheet in a variety of ways. The Collagen 100 melting sheet is 100% collagen. All collagen needs to dissolve is moisture. That's why it's extremely finicky to apply it, and your skin must be absolutely dry on your fingertips to even put the mask on, which is a good thing because that really allows for the absorption of just collagen. We don't have any fillers or additives in that product. But there's absolutely a couple of different ways you can apply this mask. Say, for example, you are only following the advanced RIMAN ritual and you only have those products. You can apply the Radiant 100 toner first and then apply the mask. Now, with this application, because the Radiant 100 toner is so emollient or oil rich, it more than likely will immediately dissolve the mask upon contact of the Radiant 100 toner. That's entirely fine. So you don't necessarily get the disappearing effect of the mask when you spray the booster, but having it absorb as soon as you put it onto your skin can sometimes be easier for certain individuals. You know, it is a little bit finicky to get all those sheets perfectly laid and to peel that beige application sheet off. So if this is just something that facilitates your process better, all the power to it. But if you don't have the Viatin oil mist and you're not following the advanced RIMAN ritual, you can use the Calming Balance Gel. The same thing will occur, which it'll likely absorb immediately upon contact. Or say, for example, you have a customer or a new contact that has no products, just has the Collagen 100 melting sheet. Again, it just needs moisture. So if they want to apply a serum that they've used before applying the Collagen 100 melting sheet, or if they do want to see that disappearing action with the Collagen 100 melting sheet, they can use even just a mister with water in it. The side effect of that is that it might make your skin feel tacky. And so that's why we typically recommend the Vegan Oil Mist and the booster, because there's a light balance of oils in there that's going to remedy some of that tackiness. So just modify expectations. If you have someone wanting to use the sheet but not having any other RIMAN products, they can use another sprayable product. It just might have a different finish than what is desirable. So long story short, really anything works with a collagen 100 melting sheet, whether you apply it before and have the collagen melt in, or you use something still to spray it and have it disappear afterwards. Right. So question 5 is, can you use the Dermatology Serum EX without using the booster? And this is from Chu Tang. This is a great question. I mean, more often than not, you'll have both products because they're sold as a set, but I know that oftentimes you might run through one faster than the other. But specifically in this instance, can you use the serum without using the booster? Yes, the answer is yes, but here's why we don't necessarily recommend it. The system was designed as, Chairman On's idea of a perfect package, the first introduction to RIMAN, and they really work synergistically together. As you may know, they not only both have those high concentrations of giant young pool, but they also have similar matching key ingredients afterwards. We have the 17 amino acid complex, we have the Sporosis crispa extract, and then amongst a variety of other ingredients such as vitamin C, niacinamide, the list goes on. But because of that high concentration of the Byungpul leaf extract, we recommend Busei Buing. And so that's, of course, the application of the booster, allowing that to absorb, then the serum, allowing for absorption, and the booster again. The reason we suggest fully Busei Buing and including that serum is because both products are going to have some evaporation. The water content is extremely high, and water's natural behavior is to evaporate. And so in utilizing the full Buseibu method, you are saturating your skin with those other ingredients while still allowing for that natural behavior of water to evaporate. So with that in mind, yes, you'll still get some deposition of those key ingredients to your skin if you're using just the serum itself, but the products were designed to be used together to saturate the skin with those ingredients. So you just might not see the efficacy that you're wanting to see, or it might take longer for you to see the results you're experiencing or desiring. So long story short, yes, but try to use both if you can because they are designed to be perfectly married together. Alrighty, so Leanne Matsuda asked, is there any benefit to using both lines together in one routine? And so that's a great question, and we typically don't recommend doing that. So she clarified as well that it wasn't just a singular product from one line in another routine. It was entirely Busei Buing and then the 3 Radiant Sun products. This, I believe, is too many products for your skin. It's ultimately potentially going to overwhelm your skin, so to speak. If you think of your skin as almost a sentient being, it's going to be too much for it. It's not going to know what to do with these products. Ultimately, when you're applying either the advanced RIMAN ritual, the expert, or the essential RIMAN ritual, those products marry nicely together within the K-beauty concept of layering to bring about certain results. When you bring in multiple additional products, it might hinder the absorption of those other ingredients, or it might confound the ultimate efficacy of those products because it simply is overloading your skin. Now, this is something that can be seen also in terms of people initially starting RIMAN, especially those that have not had a multi-step routine previously, is that their skin might initially kind of freak out when they have a bunch of different products. They got the full experience kit or a travel kit and they've used every single one and their skin doesn't feel great. And they're like, what's going on? It's an adjustment period that your skin often needs to have a certain amount of products. And sometimes having too many products, your skin will tell you. So there's not necessarily a benefit to using all the products at the same time because ultimately I think it'll do more harm than good. That being said, you can always mix and match. And so that's what we previously discussed when we did our session 4 of Radiant Sum and Radiant Sum and Dermatology EX. If you want to bring one of the Radiant Sum products into the expert RIMAN ritual or vice versa, if you want to bring in the Beats and Oil Mist and the Calming Balance Gel to the Radiant Sun 100 line, absolutely you can do that. But you don't want to do too much. You don't want to essentially just overwhelm your skin, for lack of a better term. But the second thing too is that a lot of these different efficacies in both product lines overlap and they're synergistic. So if you're looking for hyperpigmentation or the reduction of the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles in the Radiantsum line, you'll still find it in the Dermatology EX line. And having both lines doesn't necessarily mean you'll see an X amount more reduction in those various skin aesthetic concerns. So ultimately, I would recommend just sticking with one of the two lines or mix and matching a couple different products just to give your skin otherwise air to breathe, so to speak. And this actually leads nicely into the next question. Is purging possible with the skincare products? So this is a hot topic. This is a great question, and it's always a concern when starting out with new product lines. You know, we start with a bunch of different products. The skin might not necessarily fare well for certain individuals, and we think, oh, it's just purging, they should keep going. So purging is a side effect of starting a new skincare product or routine in which the skin cell turnover rate is sped up. Because of this, new cells and deeper skin layers come up to the surface faster, which may bring up pre-existing blockages, things like comedones, pimples, even pustules. But purging is most often associated with the use of harsh actives regularly, such as acids or retinoids. Specifically, retinoids, you may be familiar with the concept of the retinol burn, which that's most commonly seen within purging. Now, of course, you're introducing a whole new routine with RIMAN, and so your skin might initially have that reaction I mentioned in the last slide where it's too much for skin that otherwise has been so unexposed to skincare products. But we're shifting the terminology less from purging and more to skin training. Skin training is allowing that time for your skin to adjust and appreciate those products such that the benefits really shine through. So if you're starting out with a new routine and you might experience a couple pimples, but it's otherwise glowy and comfortable, then I would say keep going. And I would say try that for at least one full skin cell cycle of 4 weeks. Now, if someone starts something and there's immediate inflammation, irritation, any physical sensation, HQ recommends ceasing use of all products for at least 3 days to give the skin time to reaccommodate, to readjust or reacclimate rather, after having introduced all those products and then reintroducing them again, perhaps even slowly, product by product. But it's less about purging and more about skin training, appreciating that this whole process is a process. It's experimentation, it's trial and error. What works for you might not work for everyone. So purging is less possible specifically with RIMAN because we aren't using those harsh actives. And so instead, we're looking more towards skin training, that concept of just appreciating the various benefits by staying consistent with a new routine. Right. Okay, so next question is kind of tied to session 4 when we did the Radiantsum versus Dermatology EX, although I wrote this wrong because Insulderm encompasses both Radiantsum and Dermatology EX, but it's Radiantsum versus Dermatology EX. What products should I choose for hyperpigmentation? This is a fantastic question. I know hyperpigmentation is probably one of the most prominent skin aesthetic concerns that many people are looking to remedy. The most important thing first is to understand what caused the hyperpigmentation. You know, you might have more surface level hyperpigmentation or deeper dark spots and melanin accumulation that is often harder to attack. And this allows you to adjust expectations of performance. For example, is your hyperpigmentation due to acne scarring? Is it due to UV overexposure? Or is it melasma? Is it hormonal? Especially with hormonal, that, of course, typically needs medical intervention to release some of that melanin pigmentation. Furthermore, some of that topical pigmentation might necessarily be attacked with more aggressive forms of treatment, such as tretinoin. So looking towards what type of hyperpigmentation you have is crucial in not only picking a product, but ultimately determining the results you're going to see. With that in mind, if you do not have sensitive skin, I almost always will recommend the Radiantsum 100 lines for concerns of hyperpigmentation. That's not to say that Dermatology EX doesn't address hyperpigmentation, but with Radiantsum, as you'll remember, it has those nanoliposomes, and that's greatly going to increase the absorption of the various ingredients included in those formulas to reduce hyperpigmentation, and specifically, it's going to increase the absorption to target areas. if you have those ingredients to reduce hyperpigmentation, bringing them to the sites of the pigment deposit or bringing them to the pathway of melanogenesis is going to be very efficacious for reducing some of that pigmentation. Now, if you do have sensitive skin, or perhaps you are just looking for a more water-rich line, the Dermatology EX products do address hyperpigmentation, but it's going to be more of that surface level hyperpigmentation. So scarring kind of on the top of the skin, some UV spots as well, but that's going to be mainly focusing within the epidermis itself. Not to say that the Radiance 100 line goes further than the epidermis, but it goes more towards the base level. The Dermatology X line is going to be much more on the visible surface of the skin, reducing hyperpigmentation. So in terms of products themselves, this kind of ties to the first question of they all work as a unit. They work synergistically as a system. So if you're looking to reduce hyperpigmentation, I would recommend all three products in the Radiance 100 line. And for those that are sensitive, the three products in the Dermatology EX line. Now, if you have someone, again, that is looking just to invest in one product and wants you to decide, I typically recommend the Radiance 100 Ampule specifically, and then the Dermatology EX package, first package, or the active cream. So the key products to both lines is typically what I would recommend for addressing hyperpigmentation. And then of course, depending on if someone's sensitive or not, and depending on the level of their hyperpigmentation, will they go with Radiance 100 or the Dermatology EX line? All right. All right, so this question's a great one, and I didn't want to avoid it. So, if someone experiences stinging or redness with use of the products, what should they do? And so, I believe this was from Laura Bollinger, but this is a great question, and I think we got it last year as well. As I had mentioned before, you're introducing an entire new routine to your skin. And for many people, this is a routine that might be very different from what they previously were using, or perhaps they never had a robust routine, and now this is a lot of products for their skin. If anyone experiences those initial discomfort, as I had mentioned, HQ recommends ceasing use of all products for roughly 3 days to let the skin to reacclimate. After that case, I typically look at if the products they chose are right for their skin type, and then next, how can we decide which products specifically may have been irritating their skin? There are so many different instances of why such a thing may occur. One of the most common things I've seen is a compromised skin barrier. Perhaps someone was over cleansing in their previous routine. Perhaps they were using retinols or harsh acids. And so the application of the RIMAN products irritated their skin to the point that they thought it was the RIMAN products when really it was their skin health and their innate skin barrier to begin with. However, there's also, of course, always the possibility of an ingredient allergy. And so we also need to rule that out. And then thirdly, there's the possibility of product misuse. Say, for example, they picked up the whole routine with no instructions and just went ham and started using all three cleansers 3 times a day, whatever it may be. So figuring out which area or which path we can go down is really helpful. So first, I always ask the question of what their skin type is, self-perceived. Do you have sensitive skin? Then, perhaps I wouldn't recommend the Radiance 100 line. Or say they say yes to sensitive skin and they do have the Dermatology EX line, then we'll start doing, which products specifically may have been irritating your skin, what products were you using previously. So always with this, I don't want you to feel as if you have to deal with this all yourself. So always feel free to send somebody my way to ritual@riman.com, and I will ask these kinds of questions and hopefully find a solution. But just so you feel confident in the products, there's so many different reasons for why this may initially occur, and these reasons are not always connected to the products themselves. Regardless of all of that, what I see most often is that the skin is overcompromised because of over cleansing. And so this is often what I see with individuals who have been on the products for some time, but specifically didn't fully understand the roles of the various cleansers. For example, they were using all three twice a day, or perhaps they have sensitive skin or dry skin, but we're still using the active cleanup powder every day. So typically I look at that first and foremost. And then last but not least, I mentioned an elimination routine. So the elimination routine focuses on the basics. And from there, we can branch out and start to re-include ancillary products. So Typically, what it is the morning you just rinse with lukewarm water, no cleanser. You boo and then the active cream. At night, you double cleanse with a Pure Cell cleansing oil and then a water-based cleanser they have used previously, boo and then once again the active cream. If their skin fares well with this adjustment after that 4-week period, we begin to reincorporate ancillary products, the snow enzyme cleanser, the active cleanup powder, even the Biotin oil mist, and the aqua protection sunscreen. But this allows us to make sure that at least the core products are not what's irritating the skin. If they are, then we potentially have an ingredient allergy on our hands, at which we can always look towards trying the other line, or of course figuring out what that ingredient is specifically with the consultation of a practicing medical professional. So wanted to give you an answer just off the bat, but please know that my email is always open to help you work through should anyone have initial irritation upon application of any of the products. All right. All right, last but not least, this is a great question, and it's from Lisa Tucker. What makes our sunscreen unique? Why did you choose the specific filters included? So, sunscreen formulation in the US, and this is something I saw previously when I was a cosmetic chemist, is so difficult. In Korea, the sunscreens are beautiful because they're regulated as a cosmetic. So, formulators can use whatever filters they want to create their sunscreen. And ultimately, instead, they can focus on the aesthetic finish, the feel, all the good things you want to see in a sunscreen. In the US, the FDA has not approved a new filter for inclusion since 1999, and it's regulated, or rather, sunscreen formulations are regulated as drugs. So you can't just go off the bat and include whatever filter you want and still market it as a sunscreen. The FDA will not allow that. You must include a monographed filter within your sunscreen to market it as such. And so we were able to create a sunscreen that has the aesthetic appearances of a Korean sunscreen. Non-greasy, no white cast, beautiful finish, but it has FDA approved filters and is thus saleable in the US. That being said, while the filters have not been updated since 1999, there are updates increasingly about the regulatory concerns revolving around them. So, in our commitment to consistently following various regulatory bodies worldwide, specifically the FDA as well, we're always looking at the various new studies coming out in terms of the filters we've included. So, please know that with the filter and with the sunscreen and with the filters we've included, there's always understanding about the saleability of that product and how it may change. And so HQ is always ready to make changes and innovate as necessary as various regulatory demands change and as societal demands change. We see the various things in terms of these filters and the filter choices. So just know that HQ is aware of that as well. But the overall beauty of our sunscreen is that it has that K-beauty really, but the K-beauty aesthetics, but it still is saleable in the US, but it's not something that we necessarily are married to. We are married to the results, not always the ingredient. So just know that as well.